Don't miss the biggest show of the summer, Kings of the West, starring Bone Thugs and Harmony, E40, Too Short, Mac 10, The Dog Pound, DJ Quick, Sugar Free, and Khadijah, live July 11th at Wells Fargo Arena. Don't miss Kings of the West with Bone Thugs and Harmony, E40, Too Short, DJ Quick, Mac 10, The Dog Pound, Sugar Free, and Khadijah. Get tickets now at HighVTix.com.
Iowa Fireworks Farm is Iowa's largest fireworks store. 6,000 square feet of hand-picked fireworks, over 50 brands, and 1,300 different products to choose from. But they're also family-owned and operated. Iowa Fireworks Farm is the one stop you need to make before July 4th. You'll find them just south of the Metro. Take I-35 to exit 43 at New Virginia. Head east and look for the Big Red Barn. At Iowa Fireworks Farm, the toughest part will be deciding what not to buy.
What is up? Oh, listen to that music. It's bigger than 12. On Iowa Everywhere. I'm Jake Brend. That's Derek Duke. What is up, Derek?
Man, what a few days it's been for both of us. Last Friday, I went to a concert, went to a bar after the concert, and I didn't get home till like 3 a.m. And then Saturday, went to a kid's birthday party and ended up having to get our truck pulled out of the mud. I showed you that picture. We had to park in the pasture because her cousin. There's not many parking options over there, and it started pouring rain, and it turned into a giant mud pit. And thank God her cousin had a tractor to get us the hell out of there, because that was the only thing that was going to get anybody out of there. But hey, as eventful as that was, I don't think it was quite as exciting as the weekend you just had with your news.
Dude, I've had so much going on. I left Local 5, thanks to all my bosses, Raina Garcia, for a great 3 years. Quitter. I started at Cyclone Fanatic. It's been a fun first couple days. That's right.
The photo is pretty interesting, I will say. Hassel's right about that photo.
I think it looked different on the graphic than, I don't know. When Jackie showed it to me, it looked good. I still think it looks fine.
I don't know.
I'm skinny, so what?
Well, it's not that. It just makes you look even tinier than you're not that short. But I think where the photo is, it makes you look like you're about 5'5". And I know you're not 5'5".
Yeah. Well, besides the point, I started at Cyclone Fanatic as the chief content producer. Pretty sick name, right?
Isn't Aiden like the
He's the chief content.
I thought he was
he's the chief podcast producer.
Thank you. Chief podcast officer.
Officer.
CPO.
And you must respect my authority.
There you go.
Should I have done chief content officer then? I think that was a missed opportunity. Oh, well. I also moved. You can tell my background's a little bit different. It's not fully set up yet. Moved up to Ankeny.
Ooh.
From downtown Des Moines.
You know my thoughts about Ankeny, but we're not going to get into that today.
It's peaceful out here. I'm out in like the country almost.
Really? Oh, that's right. You're like in a newer apartment, aren't you?
Outside, yeah, I'm in a new townhome. Yeah. Townhome on the northeast side of the interstate. I'm like a 4-minute drive to Kippy's in Elkhart. Went there for dinner last night. I think I'm going to dinner there tomorrow night too with my mom.
It looks amazing. It really
I'm going to be a Kippy's regular. Not sponsors. They could be.
That's true.
They should be.
I could go for a good pork tenderloin right now. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah, so it's been a crazy weekend, and I am ready to talk some football, because it's been a lot of, we've been having meetings, talking content. What's the summer going to look like? What's the season going to look like? What are my roles going to be? But I know one thing hasn't changed. Bigger than 12. Big 12 Media Days in a few weeks. The season is, I believe, 10 weeks away. And we're actually going to start some season outlooks today. We didn't want to call them season previews because I think we're still a little bit far away to do true season previews. But what we're going to do the next 8 weeks is we're going to keep this structure. We're going to go alphabetical, 2 teams a week. We're just going to go over the roster very, very shallow. We're not going to go like completely in depth on every position and every player, but we're just going to talk about key guys who left, key guys who are back, and then maybe a few important additions that they made in the transfer portal. So today, and then we'll talk a couple big picture questions on what we think some X factors to the season are. Today we're going to talk Arizona State and Arizona. We're also going to dive into some Circa Sports Iowa Heisman odds, and we'll close with another draft. Today we're doing Big 12 basketball arenas. Ooh. It's a pretty good show that we've got for you in store today on Bigger Than 12, and of course all of it is possible by WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax. You take back your comments about Ankeny, Derek, because Tim Hawkins, he's got his roots down here in Ankeny, and he's running a pretty dang good business at WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax. It is honestly the perfect time for me to go set up a meeting. I'm changing jobs. I got to switch my 401k from one platform to another, and I would trust nobody more than Tim Hawkins and his team over at WealthCharter. You should give them a call if you're breathing, if you're human, if you've got a dollar to your name. I think making a call to WealthCharter would be beneficial to you. You can do that at WealthCharter Retirement Planning, or WealthCharterRetirement.com, or just Google WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax. They will come up wherever you find them. Let's get into football. I can't wait. Can't wait. I'm so pumped. And we're going to start. It just so happens that we're going to start with the defending champs based off of alphabetical order. Arizona State. They lose Cam Skattebo, but they bring back Kenny Dillingham, which you don't think that necessarily when you're talking about them, but it is very, very important that he stuck around in his alma mater. All right. I'm going to go over a bit of their roster. This should take probably 1 to 2 minutes, and then we'll get into some questions about it. So, gone from the ASU offense is the man himself, Cam Skattebo. Put his team on his back several times last season. You could argue that he is the reason that they won the Big 12. They're also losing first-team All-Big 12 center Leif Fontenot. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But they've got a multitude of returners. Sam Leavitt, he is considered by a lot and by most the best quarterback returning in the Big 12. Jordan Tyson, he was the wide receiver that got hurt before the Big 12 championship game. He was the only Sun Devil with over 350 yards last year. The only receiver. Skattebo had over 600, I believe. Shimon Mateer is the tight end, and they've got 4 offensive linemen back along with their backup running back, Kyson Brown. The additions on the offensive side of the ball, they bring in a junior from Army at running back, Kanye Udo, 1,100 yards in 2024. Found this stat interesting. He had a 40-plus yard run in 5 of 13 games last year. Explosive guy. Definitely a very different style of runner than Skattebo. He's more of a breakaway threat with more burst, but less power, which can be said of pretty much any running back in the entire sport.
That's true.
That they'll have less power than Skattebo. On defense, 9 starters back, including all 3 all-conference players. And interesting enough, 1 kind of at every position group. Xavion Alford's a safety, CJ Fight's a D tackle, and Keyshawn Elliott's a linebacker. Those 3 were all conference players last year. And they do lose their nickel Shamari Simmons. So that's a bit of where they stand. They also got a kicker transfer, which, as we know, was important for them. So where I want to start with them is, how did they replace Cam Skattebo, their most important player from last year?
Yeah, you don't replace a guy like Skattebo. He was a generational player at Arizona State, and to think that someone on that current roster is going to replace his production and workload would be foolish to me and just about anybody who thinks that. I mean, Sam Leavitt actually finished second on their team as the leading rusher last season, but I think they're going to go to more of a running back by committee approach this season.
I agree.
Instead of having that one bell cow back. You mentioned Kyson Brown. He was Cam's backup last season. Raleek Brown, he got some carries in there as well. You bring in Kane Udo, I believe is what you said, from Army there. He was an 1,100-yard rusher there. But I do question that system. We kind of talked about that before the show, because anytime you get a running back from Army, or really any player, you just never know, especially one on the offensive side, just because the triple option system that they do run, it is able to kind of skew the stats a little bit. But I don't know. I think one of these three is probably going to step up and be the leading guy. But I think it's probably going to go to whoever just has the hot hand at the moment. And it does help. You mentioned bringing back 4 starters up front too. So that's going to make the transition a lot smoother.
It's twofold for me, because I think Levitt, Tyson, Mateer, and a few of the receivers that they're bringing in, I think that they'll be good enough to where they're not going to need the type of production that was needed from Scadaboo last year. He was their offense. There's no way around that. So while I do think they'll improve everywhere else, just based off of where the talent is on the field, I do have question marks about, like, how many games did Scadaboo win for you last year? He won them that Utah game. He won them the BYU game. Like, you could argue he won them that Big 12 championship game. It was those runs in the second quarter that completely broke the game open and kind of broke Iowa State's spirit. Where are you going to get that from if you don't have Scadaboo? That's where I go. And you could get close in production, especially if it's by committee and especially if the offensive line is just as good. But what about when it's 4th and 3 and your guy is hit 2 yards behind the line, and somehow, someway, Scadaboo found a way to get 5 yards? Are they going to be able to get that from Brown? Are they going to be able to get that from Udo? That's a question. And sorry, I totally glanced over. They got a receiver from Fresno, and this kind of leads into the next question. He's a junior. He's had 1,200 yards the last 2 seasons combined. I watched some film on him. He's a pretty high possession, not a massive yard after catch guy, but he's very reliable in the slant intermediate game. I think it's a good compliment for Tyson, and that leads kind of into my next question on who steps up as the receiving options 2, 3, and 4 beyond Tyson, who's obviously a stud.
Let me say, the fact that Arizona State was able to do what they did in the Big 12 title game and in the playoff without Jordan Tyson, to me, is very incredible. Like, he had over 700 more yards than their next leading receiver. And by the way, you mentioned Scadaboo was actually the second highest leader in receiving yards. But yeah, I do like Mateer as the tight end to have a bigger impact. But as far as the receivers go, Jalen Moss from Fresno State has played plenty of football. I think he's like in his 3rd or 4th year in college football. Hamilton coming in from Alabama, who they say can really stretch the field. So I think he could maybe be the biggest newcomer that they have with that ability to go vertical, maybe open up some things for Jordan Tyson in the middle. But I don't know. It's probably going to be a trial and error thing, because between the transfers, and I think they brought in like 3 or 4 freshman receivers as well that they were able to bring in. So I don't know. It's hard to say at this point, but I do think they're better prepared this season in case something does again happen to Jordan Tyson. I think they're better prepared now than what they were a year ago.
And I think that we're going to see this influx of talent, because Arizona State should be a destination. It should be a place where players want to go. And when you have the season that they did last year of being one play away from winning a game in the college football playoff, winning the Big 12 championship, I think you're just going to see the talent show up. And that's where I think a lot of this season, it doesn't depend on Sam Levitt, but I think their ceiling does. Like, if Sam Levitt takes the jump, we're going to talk about Heisman odds. He's in the top 15 to 20 range. If he takes the jump into an actual top 10, top 15 player in college football and cements himself as the clear-cut best quarterback in the Big 12, I think he's going to make guys be options 2 and 3, not vice versa. And I'm really curious to see if Leavitt is that good. There's no doubt he's got the arm talent. He's got the legs too. I know he doesn't, like, the stats don't show him as a prolific runner, but man, the way that he keeps plays alive, it's really, really special. And he's going to have a chance for a great year. And it's just a matter of how great of a year, because that could really determine if ASU's a 9 or 10 or an 11 win team.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. We'll get into Sam Leavitt here in a minute, but yeah, I think it really is. And I've said it before, but I've seen Sam week in. I've watched him just about every game at Arizona State, and we saw him grow as a quarterback right before our own very eyes. I mean, I saw him in person against Texas State on the road last year, and then I saw him in person again in Arlington against maybe the best defense in the Big 12 with Iowa State, and he was a completely different player. He threw for over 2,800 yards, 24 passing touchdowns, and 6 interceptions as a first-year starter. That's pretty incredible. And one thing I also didn't realize, I saw this morning, was he had the 9th highest QBR in college football last season at 80. So, and when he wasn't making plays with his arm, I mean, he was mobile enough to move around. Believe it or not, he actually rushed for over 400 yards last season and 5 scores. So to me, he's a guy that went from being a game manager to a playmaker by the end of the season. And no, he didn't probably light up the stat sheet like a guy like Shedeur Sanders did, but Sam has those great quarterback traits that don't always show up in the stat sheet, if you know what I mean. So I think he's ready to take that next step to be a top-tier quarterback, not just in the Big 12, but probably in the entire country.
Yeah, do you think, like, that jump, do you think it's enough? We've been talking about, like, who's the next team in the Big 12? Like, who's the next team that is chased after year? Because surely there's going to be a team every year that is the best team. But is Arizona State and is Leavitt good enough to make Arizona State that perennial best team in the Big 12?
I'm not going to say perennial. I don't think I'll ever say perennial in the Big 12 unless I actually see it, because I just think these teams are just so damn close to one another on a yearly basis, depending on now with the transfer portal. Is going to kind of help teams kind of play catch up a little bit quicker than what they normally would. So it's hard to say that this season, yeah, Arizona State is going to be a top tier team. But if Sam Leavitt leaves, and you're getting a lot of guys leaving after this season, so it's hard for me to say Arizona State's going to be the new standard of the Big 12, because I don't think we're really going to ever see a team just dominate the Big 12 year in and year out. Like we saw Oklahoma, go on a 7 or 8 year run of conference championships in a row. Like, I don't think we're going to see that again with the way college football is set up right now.
I think I agree with you. But I will say, if there is a team that I think is set up to do it, it's probably them. Based off of what I think of Kenny Dillingham, the resources, and just the momentum that they have. But again, Texas Tech just spent so much money, and BYU isn't going broke either. So I agree with you that I don't think there's going to be an Oklahoma that just wins the league 7 out of 8 years. So what a big reason I think that Arizona State is so dangerous is there's just not many question marks about them. Like they're pretty complete on offense. I know we've got to see it with the running game, but I think they're even more complete on defense. Where do you see areas where they can improve heading into 2025?
Well, when you bring back 9 starters, I mean, that only means a good thing for a defense. They had the number 1 rush defense in the Big 12 a year ago, and the number 3 scoring defense. They were top 5 in sacks and interceptions. Like, this is a defense that's pretty well established. I would say one thing they can probably improve on would be, maybe getting to the quarterback more, but also the third down defense. When I was looking kind of at the stats from a year ago, they were 11th last season in third down defense. They allowed their opponents to convert over 42% of their third down attempts, which I found pretty shocking. If they can bring that number down and keep everything else pretty much where it's at, I think this defense, it's not crazy to say that they can be a top 2 or top 3 defense in the conference.
It was so impressive up close to see how much bigger and physical they were than Iowa State. And for me, like, the thing that I was so impressed with Iowa State last year was it seemed like they had just taken a step up physically from a lot of teams in the league. Like when they would play Cincinnati or play UCF, they were clearly on a different tier. And I think Arizona State was the first team last year where it felt like Iowa State was below somebody. And for me, a lot of that showed on the defensive end, where they've got these long, really good athletes in the secondary that I think came on over the year. And their run defense already was pretty tremendous all season long. So for me, it is just that secondary. Can it elevate itself to elite? Because they were fine. They're fine to good by the end of the year. But if they can do what they did in the Big 12 championship over the course of the year, I do think that this is the type of team that could go on an 11-1 or an undefeated type run. Like I do think that highly of them.
That's fair. No, this is a really good. I mean, it's a really good football team. They just won the damn Big 12 title last year. Bring back a ton of players. It's a very good football team on paper.
Yeah, bringing 9 starters back is, I mean, even if you're a bad defensive team, it's a good sign to know, well, we've got 9 guys coming back. We've got continuity. And when you were a really good football team and won the Big 12 and to still have that much continuity, it's a really good sign. With that, what would you say is the line between a success and a disappointment for them? This doesn't have to be final. You can change your mind before we get to August. But if you were to set a line today.
Yeah, I think it's simple. A success would be winning another Big 12 title. A disappointment would be not even making it to Arlington. This is a Big 12 championship caliber team on paper, and they should be in Jerry World playing for another Big 12 title. So for me, I think it's pretty cut and dry with where I think about what I think about this team, because they should be a top 2 team in the conference and playing for another conference championship.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's about 10 wins. If you're below 10 wins, the season's probably considered a disappointment among ASU fans.
Can't say the same for their in-state rival, though.
Oh, boy, let's get into it. So Arizona, who, man, remember how much stock I had in them last year?
You bought stock in that Arizona team about 3 times last year.
I think it was like 7 times.
And
it was way too much stock.
You would have went broke. If it was
real
money, you would have.
That's why I had to move out of downtown to the suburbs. I had to start saving some money.
Oh, jeez.
Well, the good news is they lost the best receiver in school history.
Oh. Jeez. I don't even know what to say. It's so hard. I hate shitting on teams just so much, but God, we shit on Arizona a lot. We don't like their head coach. I can safely say that we don't like where this program's heading. But unfortunately for them, they got to play another year under Brent Brennan.
They're putting a lot of faith into their quarterback. We'll get into it. So, Tet McMillan, first-round draft pick wide receiver, is gone. He was their only source of offense last year.
Great.
Literally the only source. As well as Quali Conley, the running back, he's gone. But, man, their rushing attack last year was bad. They were the second worst in the Big 12. Returning, they've got Noah Fafita, the quarterback, who had really, really high expectations coming into last year and got sacked a lot. And he wasn't extremely accurate. We'll be interested to see what he does without his man McMillan. Kedrick Riscano, the backup running back, is returning, as well as Chris Hunter, the second leading receiver behind McMillan. They brought in a lot. They've really overhauled almost every area of their team, including coordinators. Seth Dagey comes in as the new offensive coordinator, a Mike Leach disciple, and they're going to try and play the air raid. At running back, they bring in Ishmael Mahdi, a senior from Texas State, 991 yards in 2024, and they completely are overhauling the wide receiver room. they're bringing in 4 transfers that I think they'll expect to play all of them. Luke Wyson from New Mexico, 840 yards in 2024. Chris Hudson, senior from Washington State, almost 700 yards. Javon Watley, senior from Chattanooga, 700 yards. And Trey Spivey, a sophomore from K-State, who we saw last year, came on at the end of the year. All 4 of these guys are pretty similar skill sets to where none of them are big. They're all high possession, yards after catch guys, quick, and they're going to try and get him the ball, which is why they overhauled the offensive line as well. 5 transfers, 11 newcomers overall. Found this quote interesting from Brent Brennan. It just felt like we weren't quite as big as some of the other Big 12 teams last year. So they completely redid their offense. Same thing with the defense. Their secondary was actually a pretty big strength last year. They lost a couple guys in the secondary to the portal, but they bring back 3 of their starters who should be a good foundation, but they completely overhauled the front 7 as well. I won't get into the names they're bringing in. So I think that right there is just a question in itself. Will the overhaul be enough for Arizona? And we'll just start with the offense. Without McMillan, are they going to be able to pull off this air raid offense?
I mean, they can try. I mean, I don't mind the Seth Doege hire. I probably do prefer that they are going to move to an air raid style of offense because I just don't think they have enough talent elsewhere to really. I mean, they're not going to be a ground and pound physical team. They're not going to be a pro style offense. They just don't have the guys for that. So I think the easiest fix would be to try to throw the football as much as they can because, like you said, they had one of the worst rushing attacks last season. Their offensive line was bad. I mean, literally their issue a year ago was everything outside of Fafita and McMillan, who's now off to the NFL. I mean, to me, Fafita still has the talent to be maybe one of the better quarterbacks in the conference, but he just had nothing last season. I mean, outside of McMillan, you look at their receiver room a year ago, their next leading receiver had 323 yards. That's a problem. Nobody stepped up. Nobody protected Fafita. That's why this team was so hard to watch last season. And again, I do like the hire of Doege. And another thing that really stood out to me, if you look at their offseason, they signed 11 scholarship. They have 11 scholarship offensive linemen, I believe, for 2025 that they brought in. So they also brought in, a new defensive coordinator as well. So I mean, this is just a major rehaul, not just on offense, but on defense as well. It's hard to say if it's going to work or not because you just don't know. There's so many new faces in this program that they're going to have to try to piece together.
I'll be the optimist and say that even though they lost McMillan, if these 4 receivers that they're bringing in, who were all at least 3 of them were very productive at their respective schools last year. What if it encourages Fafita to be better with his vision and to look all over the field and have more options? Because last year, McMillan was getting double and triple teamed, and Fafita was still going after him. That's what caused a lot of the interceptions. And again, McMillan's incredible, but if you can't get him the ball, it's worthless to have a guy like that. Because Fafita got hit so much and he was under duress so much of last year that maybe, just maybe, this overhaul of the offensive line that they bring in is able to give Fafita more time and he's able to get the ball in the hands of playmakers. Do I actually think that's going to happen? I'm not so confident. Well, that's kind of a wait and see because any program in the country can talk up their offensive line that, they've beefed up and I think they're ready to take a step forward this year, but we will see in September if their offensive line is actually taking a step up. And I honestly just don't buy it. And I'm not buying Arizona.
I mean, the good news with the air raid is it's going to get the ball out of Fafita's hands pretty quickly. It's going to try to get it to the playmakers outside. I just don't know if they're going to have enough playmakers at a Big 12 caliber level that they're going to be able to be successful in this new offense. And again, if you can't run the ball, I mean, that's also going to be a problem. I mean, I respect the air raid for what it is. But at some point too, you got to put your foot in the dirt, your hand in the dirt too, and just run the football right up the middle when you need 2 yards.
I think the same can be said on the other side of the ball because they were the second worst rushing defense in the conference last year.
Yep.
Will all of these transfers and freshmen that they're bringing in the front seven, will that be enough to be close to a competent defense?
I mean, it can't be any worse than last season. I guess that's
it can. They could be the worst.
They could be the worst. That is true, but I don't know. It's so hard to say with as many new faces that they brought in that if it's going to work or not. And I think the reason their secondary had some decent stats, like you mentioned, because their front seven was just so bad. Teams didn't even need to throw the ball against them because they could just run it right up the middle and the outside and had success. So again, that's to me a wait and kind of see thing for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard when we're not there every day and we can't see what this transferred defensive lineman is like in practice. They can tell us that he's a beast and a stud, but what's it look like when the pads get put on a Saturday? And again, we're both sellers of Arizona. I think there's a world where they do hit on a few of these receivers, and they've clearly put in the resource to try and get playmakers, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, same.
What's your line for success and disappointment for them?
I mean, success considering where this program is at right now would be making a bowl game. Like I looked back at the last few years of Arizona football, they've only made one bowl appearance in 7 years. That is by far the worst stretch in the Big 12 right now. And if you go back even further, Arizona has only won more than 7 games in a season one time in the last 10 years. One time. Wow. Like Arizona needs to figure out who they are and who they want to be. And I don't know, with Brent Brennan right now, it does not look very good as far as the future goes. And for me, a disappointment would be basically just doing what they did last season. Like if they don't make a bowl game this year, then Brent Brennan should be on the first flight out of Tucson after the game. It's unacceptable.
Out of here. I completely agree. I'd put it at 6 wins. If you don't hit 6 wins, Brennan's gone. It's a disappointment.
Agreed.
And even if they hit 6 wins, I still think the aggregate of his first 2 years would be a disappointment. But I can at least say that if they made a bowl game this year, they exceeded my expectations because I would not predict that to happen right now.
Right there with you.
Thanks to Freedom Tire for helping sponsor Iowa Everywhere. I don't trust Brent Brennan, but I sure as hell trust Freedom Tire. Quentin Crowner and his team. He's got locations in Ames, Altoona, Des Moines, West Des Moines, Urbandale. I usually go to the Des Moines location on Fleur, but now I live closer to the Altoona location, so I'm going to have to go check that out. Due for an oil change in a couple months. I'm actually driving out to Chicago next week. Maybe I'll make a pit stop to make sure everything is all set in stone. Freedom Tire has taken care of my car really, really well the last year, and they'll do the same to you. Go check out any of the 5 local Freedom Tire locations or go to freedomtire.com. Thanks to Freedom Tire for supporting Bigger Than 12 here on Iowa Everywhere. We got some Heisman odds. I know Aiden threw together a little bit of a graphic. I put the top 20 names in our Google Doc. Aiden threw the top 5 names overall, and then the 3 of the top 20 that are from the Big 12. So if you're not watching on YouTube or Spotify, I heavily encourage you to do so. But if you're not, Arch Manning is your odds-on favorite at Circus Sports Iowa at 5-1. Garrett Nussmeier of LSU is plus 850. Cade Klubnik at Clemson plus 925. Drew Waller is at plus 1250. And then the first non-quarterback is Jeremiah Smith at 16-1. And then for the Big 12, Sam Leavitt has the best odds of any player in the conference at 35-1. And Avery Johnson and Devin Dampier of K-State and Utah, both quarterbacks, are tied at 50-1 odds. What stands out when I read you those numbers, Derek?
I think Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning just being that heavily favored to win it after not really playing much football, to me, is pretty shocking. I also think that Sam Levitt's a little low. I saw a thing from Phil Steele, who does the college football preview magazines. He had actually Sam Levitt in his top 10, and actually also had Baron Morton from Texas Tech at number 10. So he actually had two Big 12 players in his top 10. And for me to see them, I don't think Baron Morton really even made the list here, made the cut, but that was pretty shocking. Avery Johnson, where he is pretty shocking to me as well. So there's a few really good picks that you could make here if you're wanting to bet on the Heisman.
This is just classic Vegas trying to
bait us.
Wring money out of idiots.
Yeah.
Arch Manning is not going to win the Heisman Trophy. I'll say that first. I think he should probably be in the top 5 to 10 odds. I think that's fair. He's very talented. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. But I don't know, man. I don't think he should be the odds-on favorite by that big of a margin.
Yeah.
But people will see Manning, and people are going to bet it. And Circa is probably going to clean up when he doesn't win the Heisman Trophy. I wasn't really shocked by anything Big 12 on this list. I think Levitt being in the top 15 is pretty fair. I would have thought there'd be maybe a couple more guys along there with Avery Johnson and Devin Dampier, like a Sawyer Robertson or maybe even a Rocco Becht.
Josh Hoover.
Yep, Josh Hoover.
TCU, yeah.
There's just a lot of good Big 12 quarterbacks this year. And there's also, I don't know who's going to be the best running back in the conference, but last year was a really good year for running backs in the conference, and I could see someone breaking out to be in that race. But again, I don't think anyone in the league is having the same type of year as Cam Scatterbo, and he didn't win. So this is not a running back award. A running back has to go way above and beyond. So the best bet of anyone in the conference to win it is Sam Levitt, I think.
That's fair.
Unless Avery Johnson takes a step with his legs, because that's what we all heard about, and we saw it a lot as a freshman, is this guy is so dynamic, and he didn't really run for that many yards last year. They didn't use him a ton. So maybe they have a philosophy switch, and they run him more, and he puts up a bunch of all-purpose yards, and K-State goes 11-1. Maybe there's a world where Johnson could be in New York.
Yeah, and his odds, plus 5,000? Like, that's very intriguing. That's a guy who has all the tools and the skill set to be, to me, a great college quarterback. He could run like very few quarterbacks can in college football. He's got the arm talent to make it work. The problem is, we saw him go through those growing pains as a first-year starter, and if he can get past those this season and put those younger mistakes behind him, I think it's a great long shot pick in my book.
You have anything else to add, Heisman-wise?
I don't know. I just think Arch, I agree with you. I think Arch at the top is just complete bait here for everybody to bet on him. I
kind of like Klubnik.
Yeah, and I think Klubnik's a good pick from Clemson, or Drew Aller from Penn State. Like, both guys had a really good season last year, led their teams to the playoffs. Their comeback is top 5 teams I think in the country. And I know like Arch isn't going to steal the headlines, but like those two quarterbacks I just mentioned, like they've actually proved themselves on the field last year as much as anybody out there. So for me, I don't know. I'm not buying Arch. I get it. Like, his name carries a whole lot of value, but the man barely played last season. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, he had some bright spots, but for him to play a full season, like, I need to see it before I can just crown him as the number 1 pick. So I don't know if I'm ready to just crown him just yet.
He's definitely got the inside track because it is a narrative award.
Yeah, that's true.
Most years. So if he's got Texas in the top 5 and he's having a pretty good year, he's probably going to get a bump to like he's having a very good year, even if it's just a pretty good year.
He's getting the Texas bump, even if you're not the greatest.
He's getting the Texas bump and the Manning bump.
And the Manning bump. Okay. That's true. Well, I mean, Peyton didn't win it, so Eli didn't win a Heisman.
Well,
I don't think Archie won a Heisman either. I don't think Archie Manning won a Heisman.
well, no one knew who Archie was at the time. Or like,
Well, he
was just a good quarterback. He wasn't a part of the Manning family.
No, that's true.
And even then, Peyton and Eli were just Archie's kids. And now it's this entire thing of the 3 generation of Mannings.
Peyton Manning was pretty damn good in college. That was way before your time, but yes, he was very good in college. Eli was too. Eli was a damn good college quarterback as well. Peyton, I think, got to the Heisman finalist. He was a Heisman finalist. I don't think Eli ever was, if I remember.
Yeah,
that
Peyton
correctly.
got second, didn't he?
Yes. Charles Woodson won that.
Yeah,
I think it was
that's
97. Yeah.
All right. We got a fun Iowa trivia question today.
We do. Do we?
We do.
Whose idea was this? Whose idea
better.
was this Iowa trivia question today?
Derek had a great idea.
Because Aiden failed to bring an idea to the show.
Hey, Aiden's been working hard.
The one job he has.
Lay off.
All right. So we're going to start taking towns in Iowa and trying to get Derek to pronounce them correctly.
I want to say that I did pronounce Nevada correctly.
Yes,
think
that
last
is true.
That was impressive. That
did pronounce
was very impressive.
All right. Here we go. Might be kind of hard to see.
Yeah, you're going to have to zoom in. My eyes are not that good. I mean, more. I can't see that.
More.
I can't really zoom in much more there, pal.
Okay, now I do see it. I see it. Madrid. That's how you spell it, correct?
Yep.
Oh. It looks like Madrid, but I'm sure that's probably not how you say it. Is it Madrid?
No.
No.
It's Madrid, right?
Yep.
Yep.
That's how you spell it. Madrid. It's not Madrid. Madrid? I don't know.
Jake?
Madrid.
Yep.
The Madrid Tigers. Very, very proud football history.
Madrid. Okay.
Down at the 8-man level. The Hinkles.
The Hinkles. Is that the mascot? The Hinkles?
No. The Hinkle.
This is
I know
your Iowa trivia
the current head coach is Brock Hinkle. His dad won several state titles. I'm blanking on what his dad's name was.
Madrid.
But
Madrid.
Madrid.
Sorry. Madrid, Iowa. No.
Not Madrid. We don't deal with this. The
looked
Europeans here.
I didn't know. I figured it was something like that.
Madrid sounds so pretentious. Yes, I'm watching Madrid on the telly today.
That's a soccer thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't watch soccer.
No,
we don't
not
give
at
two shits
all.
about soccer. And it's for the people that say
You have less
it's
than that.
to football, it's no. Give me a break. It's soccer. The fact that we call it a different sport in America tells you everything you need to know about what we think of soccer.
Football players would kick the crap out of soccer players.
Yeah, because you touch them and they're on the ground for 10 minutes. They have to bring out the stretcher.
Could you imagine, like, Kyle Hamilton chasing down, I don't know, Messi or Mbappe?
I know Messi. I don't know what the hell you just said. I don't know who that other person is. That's how much I don't.
Or
give a shit.
Ronaldo on a crosser and having to meet Prime Ray Lewis. Good luck, man.
I think Ronaldo will be dead. Yeah.
How do we get onto soccer? Let's move on to our draft. We've got Big
basketball.
12 basketball venues. We did football about a month ago.
Yeah, about a month ago.
Aiden's going to come flip a coin for us.
Real coin
Once
today.
again, representing the United States of America today.
God bless
Is it a quarter?
America.
Is it a quarter? Is it a nickel? What is it?
Quarter.
Okay.
God
let-
bless the United States of
Washington.
America.
Jake, I'll let you
Jake,
call
call
this
me
one.
here.
All right, heads.
It is tails.
Jake, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
You bastard.
I'm going to let you go first.
I know exactly what you're doing because
No, I think I have some. I have mine ranked myself with how I would rank them, and I feel good about where I think I have some arenas compared to where you would. Maybe you value some things more than I would, and I value some arenas more than you would. So I feel really good about this.
Well,
this
I
pick.
think you're deferring because
No, I know
you're
what
challenging my integrity.
The number one pick's the number one pick. I already know where it's going to be. I just think there's as much quality in the top 5 or 6 here as there is
I
maybe.
completely agree.
So that's why I picked it.
But
you lost the coin toss.
but
That's how it works.
out of my respect for the sport of drafting, I'm going to go with the true number one on my big board and not pander to the voters. And I'll take Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Not only is it the best atmosphere in the Big 12, it is the best atmosphere in college basketball. I've been there several times. I do think the government, I don't know who, needs to check up on if their sound system is at regulation, because there is no way that anyone in the world should be able to play music as loud as they do. I sound like a 70-year-old man.
Get off my lawn.
And this is probably going to come across as a hot take. I have been to both Hilton Coliseum and Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Hilton is louder at its peak, but what is so special about Fog Allen is it is loud the entire game, and it is more consistently loud, and it is just a better atmosphere. And what you feel in that building when you're there is every single person in the seats knows that their team is going to find a way to win. You can never see people reaching for their nut cup. They know that they're Kansas, and they know that they have the best atmosphere in college basketball, and they know that weird stuff always happens when they've got the fog rolling through. And that is why Fog Allen Fieldhouse is my number one pick.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, for the folks at home here, I have not been to any of these basketball arenas. I have not been to a single basketball arena. I can't remember the last time I went to a college basketball game. So this draft is probably way out of my reach here. I probably don't know what I'm doing here. Again, I have not been to a college basketball game. It's probably been 15 years. I don't know, something like that. That probably needs to change at some point.
Come up to Hilton.
Yeah,
You always complain about how hot it is in the winter down in Texas. Come up to Iowa in January.
I did not ever once complain about how hot it is in the winter. Summer, different story. But yes, Hilton Coliseum is going to be my number one pick. Again, on TV, it is loud as shit there. I know you can get a delicious clone cone there, which I have always wanted to try. I have tailgated outside of Hilton Coliseum, I think a couple times now, so I am familiar with the area. I would love to go to a game there at some point. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this year, maybe next year, who knows? Maybe on the road, I don't know. But anyways, yes, Hilton Coliseum is going to be my number one choice here for Iowa State. My number 2 pick here. There's a couple of good arenas, but damn. When I think of Gallagher Iba and Stillwater, like when it was at its peak, I know it's not what it used to be, but if we are talking arenas in the conference, I think it is one of the most iconic arenas in the Big 12, personally.
I think Aiden thought that I thought Aiden had it where I have it, down at 4th, and he intentionally picked a photo where there's no one in the stands.
I know he did. I can see that now. That's a terrible photo. But again, it is not what it's going to be over the last few years.
You would have had to send the man searching for hours to find a picture where Gallagher Iba was full, or show a wrestling duel.
Okay, that's also true. But this is basketball, and at its peak, that is, to me, that is still a top 5 iconic venue in the Big 12 right now. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if anybody doesn't show up to their games next season. As a basketball arena, it is iconic in the Big 12. I don't care what anybody says.
I think I could give you Hilton Coliseum for the next 6 picks, and I might win this draft because you picked Gallagher-Iba at 2. That is that's bold. Props to you.
Bold. It's iconic, man. If you've been in the Big 12 long enough and you don't look like the newbies in the conference are probably looking at Gallagher-Iba like this is just a pathetic crowd. And look,
because it is.
The crowds have been bad. But as far as basketball venues go, it's not on necessarily atmosphere alone. As far as venue goes in the conference, that's a top tier venue in my opinion.
That's fair. I did my list based off of atmosphere.
See, I did a little both. Like, that's why I wouldn't put it number 1.
Yeah. I think venue plays into atmosphere in my mind. All right. Well, with my next 2 picks, I think this is pretty easy for me. I'm going to take the McHale Center,
Okay.
Arizona. Heard from my boss, Chris Williams, when he went, that it was one of the best college basketball atmospheres that he's ever witnessed. The fans stand pretty much the entire game. They have a storied tradition, and it gets loud there. I'm really hoping that I make that trip out there this winter. Stay with my best buddy who lives in Arizona now. I really, really want to experience the McHale Center, and I cannot wait to experience the McHale Center without Caleb Love on the court.
Okay.
PTSD.
Yeah.
And with my 3rd pick, I'm going to go with the Fertitta Center, Houston.
Wow. Okay.
I have heard firsthand from some family friends that have gone there. It is definitely not the biggest, but the way that they've built it to be super small, about 8,000 seats, they sell it out every game. It gets so loud in there because it is so compact, and they have been just an unbelievable program for the last decade. There's a reason why. What was the stat this last year? When Texas Tech won there, it was their first home loss in like 4 years or something, like, or maybe even more than that.
Probably like 1,000,000 years.
Yeah. There's a reason they don't lose at home. That is a very, very potent arena, and it's a great atmosphere. Might not be the most storied building because it is still fairly new, but again, I'm going atmosphere and toughest places to play.
You're going to talk about a good atmosphere. How about the Marriott Center for BYU?
Yeah, I was maybe going to go there.
That is one of the most elite crowds you're going to get in the Big 12. It is so damn loud in there. Every time you watch a game, and it's massive. You watch a game on TV there. I would love to go there one day just to experience it, but that crowd is absolutely bonkers. BYU always play. It's like with their home football stadium too. They're so good at home compared to on the road. But damn, I got to go with BYU at the Marriott Center here.
Good pick.
The next one, it probably, I don't know, might shock some people here, but I've got a couple to choose from. I'm going to go here. I don't know. I'm going to go with Bramlage Coliseum, Kansas State. I think
the Octagon of Gloom.
The Octagon of Gloom. Again, when it's rocking, one of the better venues in the conference. No, it's not as good as their in-state rival with Fog Island Fieldhouse. It doesn't have that history behind it. But when you have a nickname like the Octagon of Doom, like, to me, that is so badass. Like, that is one of the best nicknames for an arena in college basketball in the sport, in my opinion. But again, I like to see it get to that level where they once were. So I know they've kind of had a couple down years, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe this is the year where they get it back together.
Yeah, my problem with that place is that fan base is so full of front runners that it is a really good atmosphere when they're competent. And if they even like slightly dislike their team, it sucks. I'm kidding. I'm just being a little petty towards K-State fans. I'm going to go with my next pick. I'm going to go with the United Supermarkets Arena. Terrible name. Really good atmosphere, though. Especially pretty much since Chris Beard got to Lubbock. They've been one of the best basketball atmospheres in the league. I think their fans maybe got a little ahead of themselves in calling it the best or second best atmosphere in the Big 12. I would not go that far. But when there's a big game in town, that is a really, really tough place to play. I think they've still got room to grow when a place like, or a team like Arizona State's in town, or a team like Cincinnati. I think they can still grow quite a bit. But when they've got KU, Houston, Iowa State, or Arizona coming to town, it is a very, very strong arena. Then my next pick, I'm going to stay in the state of Texas. I'm going to go with the Baylor Arena, which is called the Farrell Center. This is only in its second year, really similar to Houston, where they built it kind of like a 7,000 person arena, and it gets loud in there. I know they really haven't had much success compared to their standards in this arena yet, but I think if Scott Drew's able to put together another one seed caliber team, we will see the Farrell Center be really, really difficult to play in.
I think it's Foster Pavilion now.
Is that right?
I think they changed the name. It's like something, I just call it Foster Pavilion.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Foster Pavilion. My bad.
Yes. No, it's still a good one. I haven't been to that stadium yet, but it is, like you said, it is brand new. I'm not going to go with the brand new stadium here. I'm going to go with the Coliseum at West Virginia. I think, again,
had it on the list. Yep.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the better ones on the list for me, especially when Bob Huggins was there. That thing was rolling, the whole Press Virginia thing. When it is at its peak, I think is one of the better arenas and environments in all of college basketball, especially in the Big 12. So I'm going to go with the Coliseum at West Virginia here. Oh, this next one. This is where things start to get a little bit tougher here for me. But, oh, man. Couple to choose from. I'm going to go with the Fifth Third Arena at Cincinnati. I know I don't think it's a super old arena. Cincinnati, one of the newer teams in the conference, but they've had a lot of, Cincinnati used to be really, really good at basketball, 15, 20 years ago? Mm-hmm. They had some elite teams there that would make deep runs in the postseason, so I'm going to go with Fifth Third Arena at Cincinnati.
Yeah, you kind of got the last arena before it really falls off, in my opinion. I've seen Iowa State play there not only last year, but back in the Steve Prohm era. Abdul Nader hit a game winner in the corner there, and that was a really strong atmosphere. With my pick, I'm going to go with the CU Event Center out in Boulder, Colorado. It's a place that can get rocking. They just haven't been great recently. You can factor in the atmosphere, makes it really tough to play there. And honestly, I was pretty impressed when Iowa State played there last year. Their team was terrible, but the few fans that they had there got loud, and I don't know if that's how the arena's built, but it's stronger than a few of the other teams remaining on my list. And the next one I'm going to go with is, I can't believe I'm taking them this early, but it is the Bounce House in basketball at UCF. It's called Addition Financial Arena. They're going to have to change the name. I've actually been pleasantly surprised when Iowa State's played there the last 2 years. They've got a really good student section that shows up to those games. And again, it's definitely a small fan base, and it's a program that doesn't have a ton of success. But it's not an easy trip. I wouldn't call it a sleepy arena, even if it's not that well known amongst college basketball fans.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Desert Financial Arena, Arizona State. I don't think it's really an iconic venue in the Big 12. I don't think it's a bad atmosphere, though. Hopefully they can kind of get things going again. They did have a decent year, I guess, this past year. They weren't great, but
they've got the curtain of death.
The curtain of death, that is true. But I'll go there. And then for my last pick, oh gosh, all we got left is TCU and Utah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take Utah, the John Huntsman Center. I'm not going to pretend like I know much about it. I do know I think it's a pretty large, it's one of the larger
huge.
Stadiums. It's massive, yeah. I do know it is one of the bigger arenas in college basketball. Plus, with that new hire they have here, maybe it's going to bring some life back into that program that desperately needs it.
And that leaves me Schallmeyer Arena in Fort Worth.
Oh, whoa, that photo. What is going on there?
I don't know.
Aiden, out of all the photos you had to choose from, that is a choice.
I don't really have anything to add on the TCU basketball environment. The court's awful.
Weren't they playing in a high school gym at one point?
I did have it ranked above Utah and Arizona State, though. Not that I feel very strongly about any three of those arenas, but I think when it comes to teams that aren't predominantly great or well known at basketball, I prefer having a bit of a smaller arena to make it a more intimate environment. And the reason I had Utah last was just because it's so big that there's no way they're ever going to fill that thing unless Kansas comes to town.
That's fair.
But I'm not going to argue the order of TCU, Utah, Arizona State. I just can't believe you took Gallagher-Iba that high.
I was going to take it at some point anyway, so, I mean, that's fair. It didn't matter. I still got what I wanted, I felt like. I'm happy.
Aiden wasn't able to give his opinion on our draft last week.
He can damn sure give one this week, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gallagher-Iba at 2 is insane. 10 years ago, I would have said easily yes, but...
It's arenas.
You're right. It is the arena itself is historic and it's awesome. But yeah, the atmosphere just has come and gone, unfortunately.
I think Derek hopped out of a time machine from the 90s.
90s? What about like 10 years ago?
Even 10 years ago when Marcus Smart was there?
It was still damn good.
No. Look at the highlights of the 2014 Iowa State, Oklahoma State triple overtime classic. There's nobody in the stands. It was a top 20 matchup. There's nobody in the stands.
Or maybe they're still worried about football or something. I don't know. They had a bad year
Probably
in football
COVID.
that year. Yeah, it was COVID.
Like the people of Oklahoma care about COVID.
Let's not get into that. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
No, let's do it. Let's first hour Big 12, second hour politics. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
All right. I think that does it for this week's show on Bigger Than 12. We had fun. We hope you had fun too. Roll the music.
We got music again. New music. I think this is new music.
This
more
is
upbeat
like
than the last one.
It's like we just won the Oscars and we're giving our speech thanking everybody. And they're starting to play the music to get us the hell out of here.
We're getting off stage. Yeah,
Aiden's had his hand on this button for like 30 minutes. Like, I can't wait to press this music to get them the hell out of here. So we're going to do that. Thanks for joining us this week on Bigger Than 12. Be sure to like, subscribe, tell your friends. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Please. We're begging you. We'll see you next week.